Hey everyone, ready to explore something kind of mind-blowing with us?
I know I am.
Okay, good, me too. We are going to be diving into how education is trying to keep up with the
Yeah.
job market, which seems to be like changing so fast these
I
days.
really
It's like you spend all this time learning something, and then by the time
yeah.
you're ready to get a job, that job
Oof.
is gone. Yeah.
Gone. Yep.
And we are going to be looking at some research for this deep dive that was presented by
Okay.
Dr. Yogesh Malhotra, who uh, prefers to go by Yogi
Cool.
at a SUNY System Faculty Teaching Development Conference.
Interesting.
And he has some pretty bold ideas
Okay.
about how vocational colleges can not just survive, but really thrive
Wow.
in this new normal
Yeah.
that we seem to be in. And a lot of what he talks about has to do with the skills gap.
Yeah, that's a big one these days, the skills gap. And really what he's talking about is almost like a total transformation, like how data literacy is like the new digital literacy.
Okay.
It's like reading and writing were in the past.
Yeah. I am intrigued.
Yeah.
So it's not just about teaching data science as like a specific subject.
Right.
It's about weaving data-driven thinking into like the fabric of education.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
And before we even get into like solutions, let's really like look at the problem here, the skills gap.
Right.
And we hear about it all the time, but like the numbers are really kind of shocking. Like a
Yeah.
full 93% of IT employers
Wow.
report they just can't find people with the right skills.
93%, that's wild. I mean, you'd think with all this talk about automation, like taking jobs,
Right. Yeah.
there would be all these qualified people out there.
That's what's so interesting about this is that the jobs being lost aren't necessarily the jobs being created.
Right.
Automation and digitization are kind of fundamentally changing what skills are even valuable.
So Yogi sees vocational colleges as like on the front lines of this.
Uh-huh.
But what does he propose they actually do about it?
Well, he says they need to fully embrace what he calls a data science and analytics mindset, DSA mindset, and that's across all their program.
Oh, DSA for everyone.
Yeah.
Even someone training to be like a chef
Yes.
or a welder needs to have a data mindset.
According to Yogi, yeah.
Wow.
What's so interesting about that is like how data is becoming the foundation for, well, so much from like productivity and innovation to even just understanding your customers. It's not just number crunching anymore.
Right.
It's about using data to make good decision in just about everything.
Okay, so it's almost like data is the new language of business.
Yeah, you could say that, but it's really the language of everything.
Okay.
Like, think about it. Data analysis helps personalize medical treatments.
Mm-hmm.
It can tell marketers who they should be targeting. Even hiring decisions
Right.
are increasingly based on data insights. So whatever our listeners interested in, chances are data is playing a bigger and bigger role.
Wow. Okay. So Yogi is saying that vocational schools need to like bake this data-driven thinking into all their programs.
Yes.
But how do you actually do that? Like,
Right.
you can't just like hand everybody a spreadsheet and say,
No, totally.
okay, go learn data science.
You're
Right?
catching on.
Hmm.
Yogi argues that we need to move away from passive learning, like reading textbooks,
Okay.
to more active learning experiences.
Okay. So less theory, more hands-on.
Yes, he specifically talks about moving beyond reading open source text to actually doing open source software,
Hmm.
using tools like Python and R and Hadoop.
Wait a minute. I thought we were talking about vocational schools, not coding boot camps.
Right.
I mean, isn't that asking a bit much?
That's a common misconception, yeah.
Okay.
Yogi believes that even just like a basic understanding of these tools can be so valuable for students in any field, you know?
Right.
It's not about making everybody a software engineer. It's about equipping them to think critically and solve problems using data.
Okay. I'm starting to see the potential here, but are there any real-world examples of this actually working?
Oh, yeah.
Because it does sound pretty radical.
It does, but there are quite a few, actually. You might be surprised to hear that even some elementary schools are incorporating like coding into their curriculums.
Really?
Yeah, they're teaching kids the logic of programming even before they learn algebra.
Wow.
And then you have companies like Accenture that are investing so much in training their employees on data science skills because they see how important it is
Right.
for their future.
So it's not just Yogi out there on a limb.
Definitely not.
It sounds like there's a real movement to use
Mhm.
data science as like a tool to make learning more relevant and impactful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that brings us to one of the most interesting parts of Yogi's framework,
Okay.
the concept of value-added education.
Interesting.
He's suggesting we treat courses as projects that actually show their value,
Okay.
not just for the student's future, but for the institution as well.
I really like that. So it's not just about getting a degree. It's about making sure that that degree turns into skills and real outcomes.
Exactly.
And I bet that appeals to a lot of students who are worried about their return on investment,
It does.
especially with the cost of tuition these days, which is crazy.
Oh, it's skyrocketing. Yeah, it's a smart move by colleges,
Right.
considering the pressure on them to really show their worth. So Yogi is saying, hey, let's show students how their education's going to pay off in the real world.
I'm curious, what would make you feel like your education was truly valuable?
That's a good question.
Yeah, let us know, listener. We all want to know that our investment in education is going to pay off, right?
For sure.
But before we go there, I want to know more about what value-added education looks like in practice.
Okay.
Does Yogi have specific ideas for how vocational colleges can do this?
He does.
Okay.
He suggests developing an applied data science major,
Yeah.
integrating cloud computing into the curriculum, and creating more real-world learning opportunities.
Okay, so he wants to bring the real world into the classroom
Yes.
and make sure students graduate with the skills that they need.
Exactly.
So it sounds like he's challenging these vocational colleges to be at the front of this data revelation, not behind,
Yeah.
not lagging behind.
Yes. What's so compelling about his work is that he sees this new normal,
Right.
which feels like a crisis for a lot of people, as a
Right.
huge opportunity
Right.
for change and for growth. And if they can embrace this DSA mindset, they can really be major players in the future of education and the workforce.
It's a bold vision, and it definitely brings up a lot of questions.
It does.
Like, what does this mean for more traditional disciplines?
Yeah.
Are we going to see more programs that blend data science with other fields?
Good question.
Right. It's hard to say for sure, but if Yogi's right,
Yeah.
we could see a huge change across the whole educational system.
Yeah.
We might even start to see a shift in how we define success
Right.
and put more emphasis on things like being adaptable, problem solving,
Yes.
and of course, data literacy.
Absolutely. It's definitely a lot to think about.
It is a lot to think about.
But before we get carried away with all the possibilities,
Yeah.
let's take a look at some of the challenges that come with this new data science and analytics mindset.
Okay, so let's get into those details next.
That's good. Okay, so let's dig a little deeper into how Yogi actually sees this data science and analytics mindset being put into practice at vocational colleges.
Yeah, because it sounds amazing in theory,
Right.
but I imagine there's some hurdles to like actually implementing it. So where do you even begin?
That's the challenge, isn't it?
Right.
It's not like a one-size-fits-all solution.
Right.
One of the first things that Yogi points out is that we need a shift in how we even approach education.
Okay.
He's calling for a move away from passive learning
Right.
to a more active, experiential kind of model.
Yeah, we touched on that earlier with those elementary schools teaching coding,
Yeah.
but I'm still wrapping my head around like how that works in, say,
Right.
a culinary arts program or like a welding course.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not immediately obvious how data science fits into that.
That's where this whole idea of a DSA mindset really comes in.
Okay.
It's not about like forcing data science into every single course.
Right.
It's about encouraging a way of thinking that can be used in lots of different situations.
Okay, so for example, a culinary student
Uh-huh.
could use data analysis to like track ingredient costs or optimize recipes or even predict food trends.
That's it. You got it.
Okay. So it's about finding those connections and showing students how data can actually be a powerful tool in whatever field they're interested in.
Yes.
Even if it's not something that you would normally think of as data heavy,
Right.
like welding even, they could use data for quality control or
Exactly.
process optimization or even predicting when equipment needs maintenance.
It's about giving them a wider range of skills to help them adapt and be more valuable in today's job market.
That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing there's some practical challenges too, right?
Oh, for sure.
Like, I mean, do most vocational colleges even have the resources
Right.
and the teachers with the expertise to teach data science effectively?
That's a good question.
And what about the students? Not everybody is like a math whiz
Right.
or a coding enthusiast.
You're right. You're right. And Yogi recognizes that.
Okay.
He's not pretending those challenges don't exist.
Okay.
He actually suggests that vocational colleges invest in training for their faculty,
Okay.
partner with companies or universities to get that expertise.
So maybe some creative collaboration,
Yeah.
resource sharing.
Totally.
But how do you get the students who might be kind of scared of data science on board with all of this?
That's where that value-added education piece comes in.
Okay.
You got to show the students how learning data science skills will actually help them,
Okay.
how it will improve their job prospects and their potential earnings.
Because if you can connect it to their goals and their passions,
Exactly.
they're more likely to be motivated to learn it, even if it's a little outside their comfort zone.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right? And that's where real-world projects and those experiential learning opportunities are so important
Yeah.
by working on things that are actually relevant to what they want to do.
Right.
And seeing tangible results, they start to understand the value of data science firsthand.
It's like learning by doing, but with a data twist.
I like that. Learning by doing with a data twist.
Ah, there you go.
I'm starting to see how this could really change vocational education. But let's not forget about the institutions themselves.
Right.
Yogi talks about the need for these colleges to align their programs with the new normal.
Uh-huh.
What does he mean by that?
He means that they need to become much more flexible
Okay.
and able to respond to the job market that's always changing.
Okay.
They need to constantly be looking at their programs and making adjustments based on what's happening in the industry.
So it's not a set it and forget it approach.
No, not at all. They need to be constantly adapting.
So they're always evolving.
Yeah, Yogi actually suggests using a project management framework like PMBOK
Oh, wow.
to evaluate and improve courses and programs.
That's taking it to a whole other level.
It is, because you're talking about transforming the whole institution.
It's not just about adding a few data science courses here and there.
No,
It's about making that DSA mindset part of the DNA of the college.
absolutely. And that leads us to one of the most interesting parts of Yogi's vision,
Okay.
which are his specific suggestions for how they can actually do this.
Okay, so what are they?
He talks about developing an applied data science major,
Okay.
integrating cloud computing, and offering more market-driven learning experiences.
Okay, let's break those down one by one.
Okay.
First up, an applied data science major.
Yeah.
What would that even look like in a vocational school?
Good question. It wouldn't necessarily be the same as a traditional computer science degree.
Okay.
Yogi sees it as much more hands-on,
Okay.
really focused on practical skills.
Right, so less theory, more doing.
Application, exactly.
So imagine like a data science program that's specifically designed for healthcare
Rare.
or manufacturing
Uh-huh.
or even hospitality.
Exactly.
Pretty cool.
And then there's cloud computing. That's another really important part of this.
Okay.
Yogi recognizes that these platforms like Amazon AWS and Microsoft Azure and Google Cloud
Yeah.
are becoming essential tools for businesses of all sizes.
It's true. I mean, cloud computing is everywhere these days.
It is.
It's how we store data, run applications,
Yep.
collaborate. It's not just a tech skill anymore. It's like fundamental to how we work.
It really is.
And Yogi sees this as a really valuable resource for teaching and learning.
Exactly. He actually suggests integrating it into the curriculum on 2 levels.
Okay.
So first, use those platforms to actually deliver the education itself.
Okay.
And then second, teach students how to use their knowledge in those real-world cloud environments.
So you could have students learning about data analysis by using tools that are cloud-based
Yes.
and then using those skills on projects that are also hosted on the cloud.
Yes.
That's like a perfect blend of theory and practice.
You got it.
And then there's that third piece, expanding those market-driven, real-world learning opportunities.
Exactly. He sees vocational colleges partnering up with local businesses, industry organizations, government agencies to create internships, apprenticeships, all sorts of hands-on experiences that let students really see data science in action.
So instead of just learning about it in a classroom, they're out there in the real world.
Yes.
Working on real projects, solving real problems, making a real impact.
That's the goal.
It's a pretty ambitious vision.
It is.
But if they can pull it off,
yeah,
it could be a game changer.
absolutely.
Not just for the students, but for the schools themselves and for the economy as a whole.
It really could.
It's really transformative.
It is. And it all goes back to that core idea that by embracing this data science and analytics mindset,
Right.
vocational colleges can not only survive, but actually thrive in this new reality.
Yeah, it's a really powerful message, and I think it's one that a lot of people are ready to hear.
Yeah, I think so too.
But before we get too carried away with all the amazing possibilities here,
Yeah.
we should take a minute to think about some of the potential downsides of this approach.
Good point. No solution is perfect.
Exactly. There's always another side to the coin.
There is.
And that's what we're going to do next, explore those nuances. All right, let's talk about those potential downsides.
Yeah, it's important to look at both sides.
Exactly. So,
One thing that worries me is we could end up with a new kind of digital divide.
oh, that's interesting.
What about the students who just aren't into data and technology?
Right.
Will they get left behind?
That's a really good point because not everyone is comfortable in a data-driven environment.
Yeah.
And if we focus too much on data skills,
Right.
we might accidentally create a system that only works for a certain type of learner.
Exactly. We have to be careful not to limit opportunities for people with different strengths and interests.
Yeah.
It's like that saying, if all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. We don't want to think that data science is the only answer to every problem.
Right. Or the key to every successful career. It's not a one or the other thing.
No.
A good liberal arts education, for example, teaches you critical thinking, communication, creativity,
All important.
which are valuable in any field,
Right.
including ones that use data.
Absolutely. It's about finding that balance.
Yeah.
We need to give students a variety of skills,
Right.
both data literacy and those broader human skills, so they can succeed in a world that needs both.
Okay, so here's another challenge I've been thinking about.
Okay.
Even if we get all these vocational colleges on board with this DSA mindset,
Uh-huh.
technology is constantly changing.
Always.
So how do you make sure that what you're teaching today is still going to be useful tomorrow?
The million-dollar question. It's like you finally figure out one technology,
Yeah.
and then bam, a new one comes along and your skills are obsolete.
Right. It could be pretty discouraging. So
Yeah.
how does Yogi deal with this in his research?
He focuses on the importance of always learning and adapting.
Okay.
He sees the DSA mindset as more than just learning specific skills.
Right.
It's about being open to continuous learning.
Right.
And being able to change as technology changes.
So it's not just what you learn, it's how you learn.
Exactly.
It's about being curious, being willing to try new things,
Yes.
and embrace new approaches.
And that takes a change in how we think.
Okay.
Not just for students, but for teachers and schools, too.
Right. We need a culture where constantly learning and staying ahead of the curve are seen as exciting challenges.
Yes. It reminds me of that John Dewey quote. If we teach today's students as we taught yesterday's, we rob them of tomorrow.
That's perfect.
We need to prepare students for jobs that don't even exist yet.
Right. That means helping them be adaptable, think critically, and have a passion for learning throughout their lives.
Absolutely.
So what does all of this mean for you, listener? If you're in the world of education, whether as a student, a teacher, or an administrator, Yogi's research gives us a really interesting way forward.
It does.
It encourages us to be proactive, embrace change, and find creative ways to connect what happens in the classroom
Right.
to the real world of work, which is always changing.
And even if you're not directly involved in education, just understanding these trends can help you stay ahead in your own career.
Right.
Even a basic understanding of that DSA mindset can help you make better decisions, solve problems, and succeed in a world that's driven by data.
Well, that's it for our deep dive into the skills gap, the rise of data science, and how vocational colleges can be leaders in preparing students for the future.
It's been quite a journey.
It has. It's a complex issue, but as Dr. Yogesh Malhotra, or Yogi as he prefers, highlights in his research, with a bit of creativity, collaboration, and a willingness to change, we can take this challenge and turn it into an amazing opportunity for growth and innovation.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Thanks for joining us.
We hope you enjoyed it.
Hey, and until next time, keep those questions coming and never stop learning.